All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first 2025 edition of the ctcLink Accessibility Forum. Thanks for coming today. I'm Christopher Soren, the Application Support Manager, and co-presenting with me today is Monica. All right. So we're going to chat about the 24D tax update as well as accessibility webpage. So we're going to get started on the tax update. So we got this deployed into production in December. And there was one nice accessibility update. Don't usually get accessibility updates and with the tax changes, but we got one in this one. So it's not a bad thing. So before the tax update, when you would go to the paychecks page, you had to, there was a pop-up letting you know you'd have to pick your filter dates and you'd have to hit OK on the pop-up. And then when you got on the page, there's a filter, and I'll share some screenshots here in a second, where you click the button to bring the filter up, and it's another pop-up. So it's just a series of pop-ups that you had to get through to filter out which paychecks you wanted to have on the page. Also, when you would go to the page and your focus would be on the filter button, it would tell you that the filter toggle button pressed to toggle the state press bar, which is really confusing. Doesn't really make much sense. So they made some changes on that page, and I'm going to go ahead and go through and show the improvements. So what I'm showing here is a screenshot of being on the payroll page and highlighting, selecting the paychecks button. And what you would get is a pop-up that says instructions. The default view displays paychecks based on pre-applied filters. Modify the filters to view a different set of paychecks, and you would hit OK. So this is how it was before. And then when you're on the page, you would select the filter button, which where you got that odd message about pressing the state press bar. And then you get this pop-up where you'd have the cancel and done buttons, and you would select the from and to dates. And so that's the output of the text on the page if you're reading it over with the screen there. So now there's a screenshot here on the page of the payroll page with selecting the paychecks button. And now on the page, it's when you get to the paychecks page, it says the from date and to date are populated with a default date range of 3 months. Based on the last issue check date, modify the dates and select apply filters to view a different set of paychecks. So there's not a pop-up when you get to this page to start to let you know that there's a filter. The instructions are just on the page, as well as the filter for the date ranges is on the page as well. So you can just select the date range and hit apply. And then the selected paychecks that you want are going to appear on that page. So it's not just a series of pop-up. It's all on the page. You can access it. There's the instructions. You can just tab or mouse click your way through, and it's a much better experience. So that's a nice little change in the tax update. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Monica.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. That's great that there's an accessibility improvement on that page and that experience. So thank you for that. I have a few updates to share with the group. We meaning the state board, folks like myself, Chris, some web page managers, we're working on a new accessibility support page that's going to be a landing spot on the SBCTC website that's going to include a series of information as it pertains to this monthly forum. It will be including information about how to request technical accessibility assistance with various applications like ctcLink and others. Information on how to report accessibility related barriers that we would then need to investigate and share with the vendors. And then also just some general information about how to request accommodation services when working with or attending an event. with the state board. Um, and so it's kind of so it's broader than just CTC link, but information about CTC link technical assistance and other applications that we're supporting will be on this page. So that's not published yet. Draft is in the works. Some of you may know that the state board just finished some major updates and redesign to our web page templates. So those of us who have privileges to put content on our web pages, we've been in a freeze for a while. So anyway, this is forthcoming. It's an attempt for us to provide helpful information, resources, technical assistance, and to put it in kind of one landing page so people can go to one spot and sort of see what they need. Do folks have questions about this update? I wanted to share another uh, update as well that's not on the slide, if that's okay with you, Chris. Okay, so it's about a CTC link, PeopleSoft application accessibility, and also what is, like what's up with the Department of Justice ruling and the web accessibility requirements that are stated there. So um, a DSSC, Disability Support Services Council, which is very active in their advocacy for, an accessible experience for everyone, especially our students, reached out and said, "Hey, we've got our council meeting coming up. We would like to have some updates around the status of accessibility for CTC Link PeopleSoft and what's happening behind the scenes with this application and." The Department of Justice rulings / bringing it into compliance with WK 2.1 AA. There's a couple things I want to say here. One, I want to remind us all on the call today that while, our system purchased and has adopted this application and we are all using it, and yes, we have responsibilities around providing as accessible experience as possible. We at the state board don't develop CTC Link. We are not writing the code and designing the application. So it is a little difficult for us when we get questions like, what are you, the state board, doing to ensure CTC Link is fully compliant by the Department of Justice due date? My response to that is we are continuing the advocacy, the testing and the meeting with Oracle, just as we have been doing for a number of years up until this point. So our responsibility is to help Oracle understand where we find the accessibility breaks and barriers and push them for resolution and result. We don't have full control over these pages or the code behind the pages. We, meaning myself and Chris and Padma, Josh and Vicky, we also don't have the decision authority to use or not use this application. So we're doing our best as conduits of information and accessibility experts and advocates between the colleges and Oracle. So I really hope people hear that message and that we are working hard to continually and strengthen our relationship with Oracle and push them for them to fix their own breaks when they, give us updates and patches. With that said, because the Department of Justice has published a landmark ruling that now includes requirements around web and mobile app accessibility, and it points to a technical standard, which it hasn't done up in history up until this point. We had a strategy conversation, Chris and I looped in Grant, our IT deputy director, and we're going to be reaching out and requesting a meeting with Oracle people and executives to ask them some questions around what their internal understanding of the ruling is and what their response will be as a company to these requirements, considering they serve public sector as well as private sector. So that meeting request is in the works. It is in Grant's hands. We will definitely bring updates to this monthly forum when we have updates to share and back to DSSC. So those are the two things I wanted to say. I hope, Chris, that encapsulates our conversations accurately. If you have anything else to add, please do so.
Yeah, that summarizes it. Yeah, that's great.
Mary, do you have a question or comment?
I do. Thank you for saying that, Monica. This is Mary from Bellingham Technical College. I'm chairing the steering committee here for our WCAG compliance. And what I keep telling people, and like when I first started in this back in the day, I always thought, oh, this is going to be so hard and we have to be perfect. I think what the state board is doing is fantastic, that you have this history, this lineage of ways that you've been urging this developer to make things accessible. And that goes a long way if there's ever any sort of litigation, just to be able to show how you are moving forward. And you are doing a brilliant job at the state board, keeping a little bit of that pressure on PeopleSoft and Oracle. But we're never going to get there because the finish line keeps moving. That's why I'm trying to tell my institution is that, it's a practice. It's not perfect. We keep moving forward. And if we keep documenting the work that we're doing and keeping accessibility on the front burner, we will be pretty safe, as far as any litigation is concerned. So just like you, Monica, I'm asking people to put the brakes on and understand that this isn't like on fire, that we'll get there, but
Yes.
take time.
Thanks, Mary. Yeah, we just have to keep putting the pressure on and making incremental progress forward. And when there may be need for individual accommodation, if there's a particular, task or something that a student is trying to accomplish within PeopleSoft and barriers exist that are accessibility related, obviously we want to be documenting those, right? So we can turn them into tickets and ongoing pressure with the vendor who's responsible for helping us find the fix. And that also means that sometimes there may be a need for that individual accommodation so that we can make sure our students are accomplishing the task. With that said, I do want to also remind us from an update of the last couple of months that High Point, with the newest version that we're now on for High Point HCX, which is our mobile experience of the student pillar of PeopleSoft, that brings us as close to 2.1 AA compliance for that application as we ever have been before. So there's a more accessible experience, at least in my opinion, now being offered through High Point HCX for the student pillar than we had previously, which is a good thing for us to keep in mind, especially the disability accommodation offices on the ground working with the students. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? I know you all are doing a lot of work right now around accessibility. It's a hot topic, and IT web accessibility is a hot topic on our colleges. Okay. Well, thank you, Mary, for your comment. I appreciate it. Turn it back to you, Chris.
Sounds great. Thanks. So that's actually all the topics we have for today. So feel free to let us know if you want any topics, any future meetings. Happy to add them on, talk through it. Or if you have any questions, just let me know.
Hi, will the recording of this be available?
Hey, Hunter.
How's it going?
It's going good. I arrived a little late, so if this is available, like re-uploaded somewhere, Is there a place I can go to get that?
Yes, good question. So it takes us a few business days up to a week to get everything turned back around. The next step for us will be to get captioning on our recording, and then we post the recordings on our CTC Link accessibility page along with the PowerPoint slide deck. So it's there for anyone. That's all public facing.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, the slide deck's already up there. Yeah, we'll just get this captioned and then the recording posted. Yeah, we're gonna.
Agnes says, thanks for all the work. Thank you, Agnes. We
Thank-
yeah, progress over perfection, people. That's our theme around the DOJ ruling as we keep forging forward. When you all encounter, issues and barriers, please, we would like to be in communication with you all about that so that we can document, test, and send it off to Oracle and keep applying pressure to them. That is how we make the incremental progress that we are making with them. And with that said, I will hopefully come prepared at next month's open forum or the one after that with some updates to share around the conversation that Grant is asking to have.
Hey, Monica, I had a quick thing to add on to that incremental progress. I think a good example of that, back in November when we talked about the upcoming People Tools upgrade that we're actually starting to work on now, that and People Tools is like the kind of like the underlying um, framework for ctcLink. Two of the features that are going in there were brought up by a couple members of our team, Padma and Lori, who's no longer on the team. She's retired, but back in 2018, she brought a idea as a feature and is now entered into that into this upgrade that we're going to be pushing through this year. So it took 6 years for that to come through. And then another one that's going to be in this release will be one that Padma actually requested, and that was maybe 2 years ago, Padma, if I'm
Yeah, 2, 3 years ago.
yeah. So some things can have a pretty quick turnaround, like relatively speaking, like maybe a month or two if it's a small bug fix, but things that go under the larger framework like People Tools can take up to 6 years, as we're seeing. But um, with the great work like with Padma and Lori did, they kept on Oracle, and now it's something that the whole world will benefit from. So, or all their users
Yeah.
around the world that use PeopleSoft. So
Yeah, because the people tools is like what's under the hood, so to speak, everyone.
exactly.
So when we make a positive change under the hood, that's gonna have like what Joss is saying, positive impact for everyone using the product, not just, little page fixes or changes that maybe um we're only benefiting from. So thank you to Padma for your 2 years of advocacy there.
Thank you. Yeah, as we speak, we will be using that additional thing that they have made available, and the problem that we have with multiple jobs with same job title on time pages, that issue will get fixed, which was highlighted many times, and there are old
Oh, I
tickets
remember
on
that
it.
one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that right now. So something to look forward to.
Hmm.
It's fun to see these things we've been advocating for finally come to fruition. Yeah, just patience, persistence, keep pushing on it. We'll get them. We'll get them there eventually. One ticket at a time. We'll keep pushing them. So Yeah. So thanks, Padma. Josh. So appreciate everybody coming today. Thanks for your time, everyone. See ya same time, same place next month.
Yep. See you all in a month. Thanks for everyone who was here. Thanks, Chris. Short and sweet. Bye.